profitability and confidence. Well, if I knew that, I wouldn't have said half this stuff. No, David. Okay. Amazing. Okay. I've been tinkering, trying to figure out how do I get confidence in when I show up to a farmer's market that somebody's going to be there to buy this amazing chicken, these poultry, these pigs that I was raising with my neighbor. Because as anybody who knows that does market sales, it's like when you show up and nobody else does because of bad weather, it is demoralizing, you know. And my first year, I remember like opening up this walk-in freezer that I had to invest in, and an avalanche of chicken falling out because I just was not moving enough. And I was like, what am I doing? So I've been tinkering before the pandemic, and that's why like day one of like 5 years ago now, we very quickly launched what was the virtual farmers market, inviting a whole bunch of friends I'd made at markets to list their food as well. And this was no longer Kendal Hills Farm website. This was something different, and it's now morphed into Graze and Gather. So separated it as a separate business that operates off of our farm. So it's Green Circle Food Hub is the legal name of the business, but publicly it's Graze and Gather. And we work with over 100 small producers now, like all across Ontario and now expanding across Canada, actually. It's an online marketplace for homes to place their orders. So every Friday we refresh it with what the producers have available. We send the vans around to pick it up from them. Homes are placing their orders. Like literally during that break, I just sent out the newsletter to announce a new vendor. We're bringing in pemmican from Alberta, which was really exciting to find and introduce to the homes. And yeah, so there's a lot of technology behind the scenes behind that, because constantly refreshing. Like at any given day, we've got 500 active items on the site. Throughout the year, it's something like 5,000, because it's constantly changing based off of who has what available at what quantity. But we're looking for the unique, the strange, the unusual, because that's what the homes are looking for as well, from us. And it is the other piece in all of that that has been kind of a guiding principle since day one is like, and I don't think we have it fully figured out, but there's promising signs. It's like, what I love and miss about the farmers markets was the relationships that you form with the people eating your food. And it's like, can you develop that relationship online, like virtually? And I'm going to say yes, because what I'm seeing 5 years in is that we visit some homes weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, you know, and like they know our drivers, they know their birth dates, they celebrate things, we celebrate their milestones. Like there is a back and forth of information that I was skeptical. I was like, can we achieve this? Can we not just be an Amazon delivery of food? And so that's been the big, like the kind of the constant question in the back of our minds. It's like, can you achieve profitability but still have relationships in all of this? And so for these days, like, yeah, busy running the farm, where my focus is on growing unique, interesting breeds and varieties of livestock and everything, and trying to work with some chefs to develop a taste for especially chicken that's not just white rock, and then bumping up against all the rules and regulations that are facing poultry industry. 1 minute. Okay. Yeah, sorry, there we go. Kuni pigs, which if anybody's raising those are beautiful. Like we're trying to use them to revitalize the land, like the old orchard and pasture that's overgrown. So we're expanding the herd of those. Artisan gold turkeys. We wanted something as far away from broad-breasted white turkeys as possible, and trying to develop appetites amongst homes and chefs for unique ingredients, not just from our farm, but from others. But we're based there. I think I get into a lot more of the profitability in the second slide. I'm forgetting. Do I have another slide on this one? This is it. Oh, right here. Yeah. The exciting stuff coming up in all of this, and I can talk a bit more about it. Since day one, like technically Graze and Gather Green Circle Food Hub is a corporation where I'm the single shareholder. That's never been my desire. It's always been to get to this point of an equity crowdfunding model where staff, producers, homes, restaurants, advocates, anybody can be owners of this thing. So what does that look like? We're in talks of opening up our first 2 small, like 600 square foot bricks and mortar locations to be kind of places. Because anytime when we promote what we're doing, the number one question we get is, where can we see all this amazing food? And it's like, you can't because we don't have it at a warehouse yet. There's no place, but now we could. Um, Talking with another organization in Toronto about a local sustainable vending machine pilot, which would look at some of these things like pemmican strips and other things, and also a wholesale distribution partnership. We backed away from a lot of that because we found it wasn't what we were best at, but we found a new partner that is interested in the same, like, small producers, small quantities, and matching small to small. So we're in the early days of that partnership as well. So I don't know, kind of a, I do I have more? No, I'm okay. Yeah, the piece around people and planet, and this is the thing that's hard to convey because we often get asked about what is our sourcing policy, either from homes or from other vendors. And anybody working in food knows that there's no magic bullet when it comes to, well, we look for blank. So I'm lucky to have an amazing teammate who also is as passionate and knowledgeable about food as I consider myself to be sometimes. And so we look for kind of three big things. One is respect for people, like how do they treat the people that work on their farms? Respect for the environment. So what practices are they using on their farm? Like, is it just lip service to sustainability, or are they going deeper and beyond that? And then authenticity is a key one as well. That comes up a lot in prepared foods, where if a food is strongly associated with a particular culture, we want to see that the person making it has a long history with that culture as well. Um, so we're looking for those things, and we're finding those, like, those unique people that are doing cool things and trying to raise their profile. And um, yeah, so on the people planet side, that's grazing gather, and that's all based off my farm for now because it just makes sense. Very, very forgiving landlord. And someday it might move off as we need more warehouse space or something, but for now it's there. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we got Natalie online. Natalie, do you want to just do a little test to see if we can hear you?
Yep. So test. Is that working okay?
Yes, it is. Thanks.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm Natalie Childs, one of the founding members of Agricola Cooperative Farm. We're just on the Quebec side, so about an hour from Ottawa, here in Papineauville, Quebec. We're a workers cooperative. We started in 2019 with 4 founding members, and we've now integrated 2 employees to become co-op members as well. So we're up to 6 worker owner members, as well as about 6 seasonal employees, and more because we have a good asparagus production. We're doing organic mixed vegetables, cut flowers, and asparagus on 12, 13 acres, all through kind of direct sale. So CSA is a big part of it. Farmers markets, our on-farm kiosk, and then a bit of wholesale to mostly to other farms. So we can go to the next slide. So I just had a few of our sort of people and planet ones. So one of the exciting programs that we've been working on over the past couple of years is a solidarity share program. So it's really our same CSA baskets at a reduced cost for low income members of the community. We did about 60 baskets in 2025 that were subsidized. So out of around 300, 60 of those were the solidarity shares. So the customer there is paying a third of the full price of the CSA. And then the rest is getting funded. Right now, we have a pretty interesting grant that's from our sort of like region, but we also get some donations from our other CSA members. The ongoing financing of this kind of project is obviously like the big question mark, but we are sort of running it also as a pilot project to really be taking as much data as we can on the impacts of the program, with the hope that, well, when we keep going and looking for funding and financing, we're going to be able to expand this program to other farms and communities, because we'll be able to show, just the kind of impact having local fresh food can be for low-income people. And I just wanted to highlight on that we've worked a lot with community organizations in our area to put this program in place for the referrals and to help people distribute as well. And it's a great program, and we've really seen the impact over the years of, having a secure, knowing that you're going to get that box every week through the whole season, has a huge impact on people's food security. And then there's also the impact of people who are, learning, who are sort of eating seasonally for the first time, learning about all the, our fun and funky vegetables. What is a kohlrabi? All of those kinds of things. Um, there's a whole sort of food literacy piece that comes in there. We could go to the next slide. Um, which I think is about sort of the planet piece. So I wanted to highlight a couple of things. One is a greenhouse gas calculator that we developed in partnership with a business development agency in our region, and really with their technical support, because it's not something that we would have been able to do on our own. Um, but what it is a calculator that's really adapted to us as a small, diversified farm that allows us to track all of our inputs and outputs, um, the impacts of them on the greenhouse gas emissions. Um, and the goal of tracking it is obviously to, to see what we're doing. And we're also in a cohort with other small farms in our area. So there is a piece where it lets us compare to others and sort of see where we're at. But the goal eventually is to reduce. So we've set an objective of a 25% reduction in these emissions, at least for the first couple of years. After that, we'll see sort of where the possibilities for reduction are. And one of the things that's been interesting is the focus has really been about, figuring out where we're already wasting energy or where there's resources that are sort of that could be maximized. Um, so it is that kind of, double bottom line idea of it's often areas where we're spending lots of money that we can reduce. So one big piece of the reduction is also we built 3 new greenhouses recently, and they're electrically heated rather than propane. That's definitely possible because we have a subsidy from Hydro-Quebec and from the agriculture agency here that covered 70% of the cost of the whole project, which was huge. So that we're seeing as something that's going to significantly reduce our emissions over time. We also were able to get a heat pump as part of that, which is just reducing the total energy expenditure either way. And we can just quickly go to the next slide, which is about the sort of biodiversity piece on the farm. We do have that real focus on the sort of whole ecosystem health. So we've done a lot of tree planting over the past couple of years, trees, shrubs, and hedgerows. So we have a whole section by the river where the trees weren't in great shape. So we replanted a sort of mix of species in order to help protect from erosion, as well as to, support the native plant species. And we also did that when we planted a pond recently. And again, that was really in partnership with organizations that are already doing that work and that are helping us fund. So Alice bought the trees, basically paid for the trees for us, and then we did the planting. Those are my quick little points.
Thank you. I don't know if you can hear the claps online, but we were just clapping for you. Thanks so much. I'm going to ask Brendan to come up and share. We've been going for a while, so if you've forgotten what the question is that we're focusing on right now, that's okay. The question is, what are you doing that is unique to your farm for your community and the planet?
Okay, my name is Brendan Grant, and my farm is Sleepy G Farm up in Thunder Bay, right on Lake Superior. So my farm, we're going into our 16th year running the CSA. And for a lot of those years, we were also going to farmers market and doing CSA like many of you. And then in 2017, we had our most challenging year, the kind of year where you really question what you're doing with your life and whether or not you made a wrong turn. At that year, we were facing a number of challenges, and we felt like we were just carrying the burden of the 300 families that are, getting boxes of produce from us each week. And the realization came at the end of the season that why are two people shouldering the burden of feeding all these people and insulating them from any of the challenges and the problems we may face going forward? This is their problem, this is their problem. And so we really leaned into that idea after that challenging year. We called a general meeting of our membership that fall and said, listen, these are the challenges we face and we can't keep doing this. So we need some input from you folks to steer us, because no one wants to see Sleepy G Farm close its doors. So in 2018, we pulled out of the farmers market, which was a bold move for a fresh market farmer like ourselves. And we doubled down on our CSA community. We expanded the CSA. We built some infrastructure to be able to distribute through the winter months. And now today we're almost exclusively a CSA farm. We sell to grocery stores and do some wholesale as well. But the CSA has become the centerpiece of our farm. And it took us hitting some hard times to put the community back into CSA. So we no longer refer to our CSA members as customers. They are members of the Sleepy G Farm community. They're community members. And so anyway, one of the things that we always struggled with is how do we make our CSA more accessible? And we tinkered with the idea of giving discounted shares. But the reality is that I'm not in a financial position to be subsidizing anyone's grocery bill. And I'm sure most of you would think the same of yourselves. But we have this community of people, many of which, I think all of which make more money than I do. And they're the ones who are probably in a better position to be able to be generous in that way. So we use the farm as a mechanism to create those opportunities for accessibility. So what we do now is this is a screenshot from our sign up. We use Farmigo CSA software. When you sign up for the CSA, you can pay the market price, or you can pay the supporter price, which is market price plus 20%. Or if you need a bit of a break because you have a financial challenge, you can select the market price, the access rate, which is market price less 20%. And we just basically, the money we collect from the supporters balances out and those that can access it cheaper. And then we go case by case. We will even give people CSA share at 50% reduced costs. And that just comes from the CSA community. This is not Brendan and Marcel donating. This is the CSA community supporting itself. So that's pretty cool. And the farm is just a vehicle to make that happen. Some other things we do around community building. I write a newsletter each week. It's like a 12 to 1,300 word essay on farming and the food system. And it's written from either a personal perspective, a philosophical perspective, or a political perspective. I rotate through those three themes. That newsletter goes out to all current CSA members and past members. There's about 1,300 people that go on that list every week, and it keeps them involved in the community. They may not be current CSA members, but they're a part of our community nonetheless. It's been a very powerful mechanism to build that community around our farm. And then I guess the next slide is our staff. Like many of you, labor is our most expensive cost, running cost. Oh, it's coming. But we're really adamant that we need, farming is a skilled labor. It's the most important job in society, but it's one of those jobs that is traditionally paid the least. We are really adamant about paying our people a living wage. So no one on the farm makes less than $20 an hour, and most of our people make closer to $30 an hour, including our Mexican workers. We use some Mexican workers as part of our team, and of course we're only obligated to pay them a certain amount, but we pay them a lot more, and every year they come back, they get a raise. because they're valuable to us. We're kind of the opinion that staff don't cost you money so long as that they are productive from the start to finish of the workday, and that paying people good money gets good work. So we don't do that. We don't skimp on wages. Okay, and then finally, planet. Things we do around supporting the planet. In 2010, when we started the farm, we were not certified organic. We branded ourselves as ecologically raised food. In 2014, we decided to certify to kind of, to really walk the talk, shall we say. And it's made us better farmers, and it's made us more intentional. So we're proud of that. We're not skimpy on spending money on building our soil. So I think that's something that we're doing for the planet, and that we're leaving our soil in better condition. We do almost zero double cropping, which is kind of unheard of for people growing the kind of crops we do. Instead, when a crop is done, I leave it. We're on a raised bed system, and then I just brush hog it throughout the rest of the season to stop it from going to seed or letting weeds take over. But I want the living roots on the ground, so we don't double crop anymore. And then in a few years ago, we cleared 10 acres of mature forest on the farm, which was a very counterintuitive action to take to support the planet. But we realized that to aggressively build soil in the way that we need to face climate change challenges, we needed more land. And so we took down 10 acres, and we're in the process of bringing that into production. And then finally, in 2018, we took a holistic management course that really, if you haven't taken it, you might find it worthwhile, because it gives you a decision-making framework that helps you assess all the steps and the problems on your farm in the context of the triple bottom line. And out of that course, we made the decision to bring in a feller buncher and start taking down some trees on the farm. Again, counterintuitive, but had we not taken that holistic management course, we may not have come to that decision. Okay, that's it for now.
Thanks, Brendan. Sorry. Thank you, Brendan. So it was really great to hear from all of our panelists, specifically around things they're doing around people and community and planet. And we heard about some things that, about how important tracking sometimes is. So whether it's CSA members or money or, greenhouse gas emissions or, all that fun stuff. But there's also a lot of things that are equally important that are maybe a little bit harder to measure. So some of the key words that I heard in this first portion was relationships, respect, authenticity, solidarity, partnerships, accessibility, and dignity, specifically for worker labor and wages. And I think all of those words can apply equally to people, but also to planet. We heard a lot about soil, and I think all those words can also be applied to building good, healthy soil. So for the next portion of our panel, I'm going to get all the panelists to come up again and answer the same question as to what are you doing that is unique to your farm, but specifically focus on profitability, because that is also very important in the type of community that we live in. So Dave, I'll ask you to come up first. And just a reminder, after this, we will open the floor to questions, so you can start thinking about those.
So on this question, when I first saw it, I initially was like, well, I didn't work for 15, 20 years in the nonprofit sector and come into farming to know how to generate a profit. And I'm still learning that side, but I would say more about how do I make sure that I'm covering my costs, including, mortgage, loans, heating bills, paying my staff, everything like that. And at the end of the day, if I'm doing that, I'm happy. Like, I'm lucky to have a partner who has an off-farm job that can help pay some of our more, like getting the kids to their karate classes and stuff like that. But for the farm itself, even in my early days of planning it, I went, okay, what are the two things that we're going to do that are like market opportunities for us? Like what are like, when I was looking at all the range of possibilities, what we could grow on that land, that's what I did for the first year. It was, what can we do out of this aging poultry infrastructure? What else could we grow here? What would allow us to get into some farmers markets that often are highly competitive, and once somebody's in, they are locked in there and there's nobody else. So that's how I landed on mushrooms, partly because I was like, okay, I could grow mushrooms. There's not a lot at the time. There weren't a lot of specialty mushroom growers, and that did allow us to get into some markets in downtown Toronto. And so these days I treat poultry and mushrooms as my two foundational pieces. Everything else that we're doing around the pork, rebuilding orchard, planting some things, that's really more on the hobby side and going like, how do we develop this idea of silvopastoral? Whether or not they're ever part of paying the bills on the farm is a big question mark, but poultry and mushrooms are my foundational pieces for the farm itself. And then for the market has been the biggest learning curve. So when I say the market, I'm talking about graze and gather. And that's been the interesting one, especially as we've worked with other farmers and trying to figure out that sweet spot of how do we cover the cost of running the market, which includes full-time staff, delivery drivers, vehicles, insurance, all of those other things. How do we but pay the farmer the price that they need for their food? Because one of the things I've never wanted to do since day one is get into the position where we're negotiating, especially down, and saying to a farmer, no, we don't want that unless we get it for this price. Instead of having honest conversations, like even yesterday it was about lamb prices, because we have a restaurant that wants 1 to 2 lamb a week, and we have this one farmer, and their prices have fluctuated, their weights have fluctuated. So but honest conversations with them lead to a point. And what we've learned over time is that a lot of farmers, especially market farmers, we don't properly value the time we spend at market. And that's from loading up the vans to driving to unloading to our time spent at the markets to coming back. If we actually costed all that out, we'd realize we are subsidizing the people eating our food. In a lot of cases, not universally true, but in a lot of cases. And that's the starting point for a lot of conversations with us, with farmers. It's like, so what are the things where your total cost of doing that would get us to a price that we could afford? And then it plays in this competitive space, because at the end of the day too, the price has to be competitive for a home that's looking to build like a basket of all the food available that's worth over $100. So they have to see, like, am I willing to pay that much for your chicken, Dave? Because is there something unique about your chicken that makes it worth this? And that's the piece that we've really figured out. There's a bit of a formula that I play around with, that Tina and myself play around with. And we've found ourselves in a larger role these days, that the profitability of the food hub is about education and support for some of the farmers on figuring out their own pricing. Sometimes they're leaving money on the table, which is interesting. They're like, whoa, you're giving us these prime cuts out of this animal for way cheaper than what they're going for. You should charge us more for that. And other times it's like, whoa, you're charging us way more than the going rate. And we found that now that we have 5 years of experience and even some data, because with this all being online, we're able to share some of those analytics. Like this is what the going rate is out there, and we're trying to get, in my dream world, it's about being even more sophisticated, saying this is what the going rate is for like this variety of tomatoes right now. Like, can you afford to pay it, like to include it as part of your offering to the market, or do you want to sell it just at your stall or to your CSA customers? Do you want to grow more of those next year because there's demand for it? But that's where the profitability of all of this comes in, because at the end of the day, then we have to figure out how do we get this food to somebody's doorstep in a way that makes sense. But the profitability is really around how some of it has been encouraging the homes to increase their average order value. Like a year ago, it was $70. Now we're at about $115 average order value, which makes delivering all across the GTA and Peterborough and Northumberland worthwhile. Like a full van's going out and a full van's coming back with food that we're picking up. But yeah, it's a lot of spreadsheets. It's a lot of numbers and analytics, and I do keep the two businesses separate, but they're also very intertwined. Yeah, but if anybody ever wants to talk about pricing strategies, it's a weird skill that I've developed in the last 5 years, and happy to talk about more. Yeah. Good for now. Yeah. Thanks
so much. Okay. So we are going to go online back to Natalie. And Natalie, if you could, there you are. If you could let us know what you are doing that is unique to your farm to ensure profitability.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to talk a bit more about sort of like on the internal side, mostly about how the workers' co-op model differs a bit from a lot of more traditional models, because it is kind of a different way of thinking about the farm and about how we as owners of the farm kind of, gain our profit from the farm, because all six of us that you see here are the members of the co-op and are the owners of the business. But we're all salaried employees. So the focus for us is really on, as much as we can, increasing our wages like now, so that we're able to be, saving for retirement, et cetera, and, just covering our cost of living. Because we're not planning for an eventual, sale of the land or anything that is going to be sort of the payout or profit from the farm. So right now, our current hourly wages are between 21 and 23.50 for the worker owners. Employees who are starting off who don't have experience are less than that. So it is on a pay scale that's based on years of experience and a few other factors. But at the same time, we're really focusing on balancing, profitability with the work-life balance piece. So we're really also focused on hours worked. We do pay for all of the hours that are worked by all of the members of the farm, which was not always the case, but that's been a focus for the past couple of years. So we're tracking all of our hours, and then at the beginning of each season, basically each of us will sort of set what we would like our hours to be for the year, and that's also based kind of on personal preference. Some people really want those winters off. Some of us want to be working sort of a more steady pace year round. And this year we're really working to have no weeks that are over 50 hours a week, because we really saw, that's when we start getting burnt out in the year. Because we're a workers co-op, we also have the possibility to access EI in the winter, which some of our members do. And we have access to parental leave in a kind of straightforward way, which is really nice. The co-op also means that we really have shared responsibility and mental load within, the farm operations, and we're able to focus a lot more on our areas of strength, which also contributes to the quality of life piece. So this, you can see just a little like screenshot of one of the tools that we use to track and analyze the labor. So, our seasonal employees just use sort of like timesheets, kind of typical. And then we use time tracking apps, because at least for me, often I'm doing something in the morning on my computer. I'm doing some admin work in the morning, and then I'm with my kid, and then I'm in the field and going back and forth. So having the app on my phone really helps me. It's not just like my 8-hour day start to finish is really clear. And that also lets me attach different sort of work types to it. So you can see like admin, sales, and as you were mentioning earlier, we often don't break down sort of like how much time do we actually spend selling things. That helps us get more data on that. So once we have that data, that's what allows us to be more efficient. I think, as someone mentioned, labor for us is for sure the biggest cost by far. And so once we can see where that labor is going, it's able to help us, see where maybe we're spending too much time, where we could reduce those hours and become more profitable. All while balancing that sort of work-life balance. So one thing we're trying this year is a 35-hour work week for the seasonal team, with the hope that by introducing some labor efficiencies, that's going to sort of help everyone have a bit more of a balance and come to work, do their best work while they're there, and then have their time off as well. And just, this tool, because we can see everyone's predicted hours through the year, we can see where, it's going to be a really busy time. It might be really stressful. That might be a week to see if we can call in someone extra, something like that. So we're able to predict and adjust a bit more. We can go to the next slide. So connected to that is obviously the idea of crop profitability as well. So that's another area where we're really focusing on tracking, what's working, adjusting our pricing to reflect, what it actually costs to produce a certain crop, and in some cases to cut crops. And that's been something that we're doing a lot in the past couple of years, is really accepting that within our systems at this moment, certain crops are just not profitable, and it makes more sense for us to buy them from our neighbor who grows great potatoes. We just don't grow great potatoes in our systems. So we're sort of like trying to, do what we can do really well, increase the mechanization on certain crops, in order to do that even better, while still meeting our customers. And, our customers still want potatoes and they want corn. So really working with our neighboring farms to make sure we're providing our customers with what they want, while growing the stuff that sort of makes sense and is profitable for us. So that's kind of like we're sort of at that point in the business of really trying to drill down on what we can do well, while still, growing a diversity of crops and, having it be fun. We're still a super diversified farm. So I think those are my kind of main points on the the ongoing struggle of how to make money farming.
Thank you, Natalie. I love good spreadsheets. Okay, I'm gonna call up Brendan now to share what he is doing that is unique to his farm to ensure profitability.
So the idea of achieving the triple bottom line is really that decisions that you make in the business are good for the people around the business, the planet, and then the profit. And trying to balance those three out is difficult at times. For me, we've kind of recognized that even in the pursuit of the triple bottom line, profitability is the most important goal. Now, that's not to say that it's that you should do decision making should focus around maximizing profit, because that's where you start cutting corners and damaging, the people around the business or the planet. But the point is that the overall profitability and economic viability of the farm business is paramount in being able to do the important work of social and ecological work that we're trying to do with our farm. So everything has to be around profit in order to achieve the triple bottom line. So for us, that means investing in good tools and systems to create a satisfying and productive workplace. Here it looks like we're shooting a health and safety video. This is inside our cellar where we store the root vegetables for the winter. But we've spent a lot of money on good equipment and systems because it creates a satisfying work environment. And whether you work on a farm or you work in a cubicle at some desk at some job that wherever, if you're happy in your work, you're going to be productive. Unhappy workers are not productive workers. So part of what makes our workers happy is having the tools and equipment that are easy to use and are satisfying in the job that they've been asked to do. We also maintain really high standards of performance for our staff, and we're not afraid to have difficult conversations or even fire someone if they're underperforming. And this is part of the getting back to the idea of wages. When someone's only making minimum wage, it's pretty hard to drop the hammer on them and say, well, you need to go faster, you need to do better. But if someone's making $28, $29 an hour, well, now you can ask more, So for us, that's been an important thing. I guess the next slide. For an organic farm, the number one threat to profitability is weeds. I think that's pretty universal. So we've really prioritized good weed control on the farm and spent the money on equipment to be able to do that well. Again, getting back to the staff morale, to send someone in on a bed of lettuce or whatever to harvest, and if it's a weedy mess, that's like a soul-crushing endeavor that is going to take longer than it should, and it's not going to feel that satisfying on the other end of it, even for the person who doesn't do it, like just to watch it happen. So we really prioritize weed control. Yeah, I guess the next thing is getting back to the staff thing. On our farm, we kind of our strategy anymore is to just throw money at staff members and make it harder and harder for them to walk away. I think that my wife and I both kind of reached the point where we're sick of retraining people. We're sick of hiring. You know, get a year out of someone and then they just learn the job, and next thing you know, they take off to another farm or whatever, get some funny ideas that they want to go work for someone else. It's a real that creates burnout on the farm for the farm manager. So we make it really hard to leave because we just give you $1 an hour raise for every 6 months you're on the farm. So you stay for 12 months and you're already at a $2 an hour raise. Pretty soon it's like, well, shit, why would I leave? We kind of try and take that incentive away. Now, easy enough to say, oh, spend lots of money on your staff. And people are like, well, how am I supposed to do that? But the way I rationalize it is that, you know, a $1 an hour on a roughly 1,000-hour work year through the growing season translates to $1,000 at the end of the year. So, you know, if you're working for me and I want to push you a little harder, to give you a $3 an hour raise is definitely going to motivate you. And at the end of the season, that's only $3,000 more on my end. Plus, you know, a little bit more for you know, EI and those types of things. But it's not a huge amount of money. And you put it in that way, giving someone a $5 an hour raise is definitely going to increase their performance, and it only costs you $5,000 at the end of the season. And you think about the amount of work, they are definitely, someone who's getting that raise is going to work so much harder and so much better that they are definitely going to earn you well more than $5,000 that it cost you. So we're kind of the opinion that wages don't cost you money. If workers, our staff don't cost us money. As so long as they're happy and they're productive at work, they're making us money. And then just to finalize my comments here around what we're doing on our farm to ensure the profitability, we really try very hard to continually elevate the profession of farming. I didn't come to farming because I had no other choices in life, nor did my wife. You know, we both went to university. We both could do lots of other things. At this point in my life, I've closed all the other doors, so I have to keep farming. But but we really try and elevate the profession of farming to the public and portray ourselves as professionals. This is key. This is the critical point. You know, it's the difference between demanding a price for your product and standing behind a table and taking what you're given. You know, if growing food were that easy, and everyone would be doing it. But the reality is it's not that easy. Growing a garden is easy, but growing those same crops on a field level is not the same thing. And so finally, we price our products based on the cost of production rather than external factors. And we stand behind our price. And if you don't like it, you know, we're okay, and we expect some price rejection. Not a lot, but some people will reject the price. And I think that's been an important step for us in maintaining profitability over the years.
Thank you so much, Brendan, for saying the hard thing that I think a lot of us are maybe thinking is that all these things are important, but profitability is very important because it can affect your people goals, your planet goals, and the work that you're able to do in those fields. Natalie, thank you so much for sharing your spreadsheets and showing us some of your planning and tracking tools. I think those are really important because they can help us visualize and highlight where the areas for improvement are, things that you should expand on or maybe completely drop. And Dave for really focusing in on how important it is to find your niche and to really focus in on that. So you may have realized that I skipped our fourth panelist, who I believe are online now. It's Christel and Joey. I think they're both online. Great. They are co-owners of Fiola Farm, which is a 120-acre family homestead located in a Franco-Manitoban community that currently sells direct market, pasture-raised lamb and wool products, pasture-raised chicken, and straw in small square bales. So I'm going to ask them to come up online, and I'll give them a few minutes to share what they're doing that is unique to their farm for all of the above: community, planet, and profitability.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you see us?
We can't see you. I don't know if that's our
Oh,
end issue, though.
oh, darn. Our camera is on.
Yeah.
Do you two have your video turned on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, just
I'll
give us a
just
second. We need to
turn
locate you.
it back on.
There you are. Okay, we can see
There we
you.
go.
And we
Hi.
can hear you.
Hello.
Hello. We're presenting from Morton, Manitoba, which is not really our home. So we're away. This is, apologize for the
Yeah,
delay.
we just had a little bit of technical difficulties. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
So yeah, as everyone mentioned, we have a sheep farm in southeast Manitoba on Treaty 1 territory, and we grow sheep for nose to tail. So we grow meat and fiber as well. So I guess we'll answer the first question.
Yeah.
And Joey will start off.
Yeah, so what we're doing, I'm not sure if it's unique to our farm, but what we're doing to our community is we're getting youth interested in the field of agriculture. So for example, we've currently have two 16-year-old youth that have worked for us for the last 3-4 years, and they've recently gone in to become ag mechanics. They're starting their journeyman throughout their high school and still help out us as well as another neighboring farm. That's how we've been able to benefit the community, our local community directly, and then also the agricultural community as a whole. Other opportunities that we've done, like we'll do on-farm tours where anybody from, typically is this our customers from the city that come, city of Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is northwest of us. And as well as we do other tours for organizations like the Manitoba Métis Federation, just to get people exposed on farms, seeing what happens on a farm, going out in our pastures, going to see the animals.
Yeah, we do a lot of collaborations also with local schools and the University of Manitoba. We have a lot of students out on our farm experiencing various different workshops. We also do open farm days. We do shearing days, shearing festivals. So we really want to get, because of our close proximity to Winnipeg, which is a big metro center, we try to get people out onto the land and into what a real farm might look like. So we're really open about that. And try to be really transparent. I think transparency is a pretty big thing for us on our farm, and try to really connect people to their food. But what's kind of unique to our farm as well is that we really want to connect people to fiber. So because we are a sheep farm and we grow fiber as well, we really try to connect youth and other les jeunes puis les moins jeunes, as we would say in French, anybody that is willing to learn about where local fiber comes from. So that's kind of one of our big components as well, is just talking about food and local food initiatives is one thing, but there's not a ton of people talking about local fiber and local fiber initiatives. So we're really connected to local fiber initiative programs such as the Pembina Fiber Shed in our area. Fiber sheds are organizations that talk about local textiles as well. So that is a few other ways that we get community involved. We do also outreach at farmers markets. Sometimes we'll do demonstrations and different workshops outside of the farm, and then try and invite people back to the farm as well, like that. So
Right. So now touching on the second part of the first question, what we do is unique for the health of the planet, and that's by applying soil health principles. The first one that we practice would be reincorporating animals to land or incorporating animals on the land. Our sheep are pasture raised, they're rotationally grazed, and it might be more like adaptive grazing might be a best term that we describes what we're doing. So we're moving our sheep at different times of the year based on grass growth. So we'll probably go from about half a day in the same pen or paddock to 2-3 days, depends on how fast the grass is growing. The other way that we benefit the planet would be that which is through our soils, would be to incorporate diversity of plants, diversity of species. So we also raise chickens in the field, and this year in 2024, we purchased 2 beef cows that are going to go graze with the sheep in the field. So to incorporate more diversity within our ecosystem.
Multi-species grazing system kind of.
Yeah, and by doing so, we're creating better soils, healthier plants, storing more carbon.
So another thing that we do on our farm is we participate in the ecological verification outcomes program with holistic management. So we are in our 3rd year, I think, of monitoring and really getting all those statistics of what's actually going on in a farm with the plants. So we do plant counts, we do all kinds of species identifications with specifically directed relation to the plants, but also looking at microorganisms and bugs and everything that fits together. And we also are involved with important birds of Manitoba, and we did a bird count last year. So we just try to really see what's there, what is on our land, and how we can help all of those native species thrive. Yeah. So I think that answers.
So that in summary is what we're doing is unique to our farm for the community and the planet. The second question that we're going through is, what are we doing to ensure profitability?
For one second, just a question for the moderator. Do you think I can screen share? Because I do have some images, but I'm not sure if I screen share, would that be okay?
Just give me 1 second. I'm going to check in with the tech
Yeah.
team.
Sure. And if the time doesn't allow that.
I think you still have a few minutes. You are
Okay.
co-host now, so I think you should be able to share.
Okay. Let me see if I can get really quickly. Okay. Awesome. So yeah.
So our strategy is to have unique, direct marketed products and try to stack our enterprises in order to do so. So we try to use every product that the animals that we have on our farm can offer. So an example of the sheep is that the lamb meat is one product. The next, we're using their wool as spinning yarn, felt.
And we use the sheepskins as well.
Yeah. So then we're also utilizing the sheepskins as another end product, and then the cull fat to make a balm. So with one animal, it's supporting 4 products as well. We're also able to reach our ecological goals by keeping the animals on the field and working for us. And the other way that we try to stay profitable as best we can is that we're offering unique products that are readily available on the market. So with our small square bale enterprise, anybody can produce round straw bales. It's a commodity that's out there. The price point's fairly low. However, for the smaller farmers, homesteaders, and we've been able to develop unique opportunities, we make the small square bales. And that offers us, like it's been previously mentioned, our price point is based on our cost production to ensure that our costs are covered with a management margin or some profit in there. We've come up with a unique business of we rent our straw bales to events, so we drop them off, end up picking them back up and charge a rental fee. And it works out pretty good because we can usually rent them 3-4 times, which comes out to the same cost as selling it once. And then we either will use it for ourselves as bedding, or sell it as a discounted price. So we're just trying to capture all the value in the products.
Yeah, we also do a lot of our own on-farm manufacturing. We, like as Joey said, we raise sheep for wool, and we turn that wool into yarn. We're kind of lucky geographically located right next to one of Manitoba's only wool mills. So we get all our fibers spun all within half a mile, which is kind of unique for us. It's not, I know it's not the reality for everyone, and then we also grow dye plants. So I dye all the yarn, and a lot of the plants are grown, all the plants are grown on our farm as well. So for the yarn, it's spun in the mill nearby. We also get our felt, the carded wool for our felt is carded next door, but then we transform all the felt ourselves. So we actually got into manufacturing ourselves as well, and got a felting machine just to increase that profitability, have more products. And we're trying to do direct marketing of a finished product. So yarn sells great if you're a knitter, but some people like to have finished products. So we started making finished product with our insoles as well. So this is kind of how we market our yarn. Our yarn has, if I had the flip image of that, we actually also kind of uniquely do single source fibers. So the yarn has the name of each individual item, each individual sheep on there, and they have the little picture. So that's kind of a way for profitability wise, like it gives you a little head forward, I guess. People really like to connect to those animals, brings people back to the farm, kind of a full circle type thing. It's nice for marketing.
Right.
But,
so
yeah.
I guess to summarize what we've just been talking about the last few minutes, to ensure profitability in our context, we're trying to maximize what products we can get, sell them as much as possible. It's not always possible, but with a reasonable margin, and then take advantage of unique marketing opportunities or to differentiate ourselves in the market. So I think that's all the time we have and information we want to briefly share at this moment. We look forward to touching base with you guys around 2:30 this afternoon.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you answering all the questions at once and being adaptable in that way. It was really interesting to hear how you are doing things on your farm in terms of people, profit, and planet through teaching, learning, transparency, connection, and diversity. Thank you to all of our panelists, including Dave, Brendan, and Natalie, for joining us today and sharing a little bit about their farm journey and how they're doing things on their farm. I did say that there was going to be a question period. Unfortunately, we have reached lunchtime, and I'm terrified to stand in between people and food. So not going to take questions now. However, if you do have questions, all of our or some of our panelists are here. I haven't checked with them, but I'm going to say that they're available at lunch to talk to you. However, if you do want to hold on to your questions, after lunch, we're going to do a second round of this panel with some new panelists, but all of the panelists from now will join us at the end, and there will be an opportunity there. We're going to open it up to the whole room to share their, your own stories and perspectives, so we can take some of that time to ask any questions also. So thank you so much. I think Claire has some announcements before we break for lunch.